Hey, my name is Gary Parker. I am going to be teaching CS120 this term. And I just wanted to say hello and show you a few things about the course. So let me share that with you. So our course is set up in Canvas, and it is all online. There is no physical textbook. All of the reading is contained in pages here or in links here. So it's set up pretty linearly in terms of modules. The home page and the module link are the same thing. That's what we're looking at right here. If you're new to Canvas, then there's to-do lists on the side and upcoming assignments over there. I highly recommend you go through all of this stuff for each week. The video I'm recording is on YouTube. I use YouTube Live / Google Hangouts to do my recordings. And if you ever need help with anything and you're not in the same town as I am, then we can do a video chat through YouTube and Google. And I can help you do that and post some instructions for how to do that. This course is set up based on Google Apps. We're not going to use Microsoft apps in this class. So we're going to use Google Drive and Google Docs and Google Sheets, and we're going to do a few other things also. You should read the syllabus over here on the side link as soon as possible. I'm not going to go through that with you. You can take a look and read it. Important links for the course. Let's take a look at that. So we are going to create a website right away in this class and use it throughout the course. And the final big assignment in here is to make a custom website at the end of the class. That's going to be done with a system called WordPress at first. So we'll start with that. You're going to do a fair amount of research in this class, reading about technology in the world today and writing about it. When you do research and write about it, you're going to have to cite your sources. And so the Purdue Online Writing Lab has some great guidelines for how to cite your sources, and I'll go over more of that later. So the electronic source link here, I use all the time to make sure I'm citing my source right whenever I'm using somebody else's information that I didn't create. A lot of the tutorials we're doing are coming from a website called GFC Learn Free. So that's a big part of our online textbook here. And then I have extra tutorials about using Google Apps that can be helpful in a course that's a prior to this one for people that aren't quite ready for this one called CS120. So I'll just open up that one for fun. So in CS120, the intro to Google, if you've never used Gmail before, there's some tips about how to use Gmail here. I'm going to go over with you in this course how to use Drive, how to use Docs, how to use spreadsheets, how to use forms. We're not really going to use Google Photos in this class. We're going to use another photo editing program later, but it's a pretty cool one, and I do have some tutorials in our class also. So interestingly, Google changes things up, adds new features all the time. So I teach a lot of computer literacy classes, and I learn something new all the time. Either because it's a feature I just never checked out or it's a new feature. So I guarantee if you go to that CS120 link and you check out the Gmail, if you've been using Gmail for a while, I bet they're going to show you a few things you didn't know about Gmail in the tutorials here at Google. Anyway, and then later in the course, we're going to be using shots of the screenshots to write about stuff we do on a computer. So these are some links that you're going to need to use regularly in this course. So I made a special page for those. Otherwise, the links that you need are present in each part. Zoom out a little here. I'll do weekly recordings for this class saying, hey, this is what we're doing this week. So today is the first part in this week's video. This is just going to be a brief introduction, and I'll do a little bit more about the other stuff here later. So again, the modules in this course, the course homepage, it's set up in terms of weeks. So week 1 is an orientation of the course and the tools we need and basic skills you need to have to succeed. Week 2, we're going to play more with Google Drive, which we start in week 1, and then play with Google Docs. In week 3, we're going to jump into playing with spreadsheets, and then there's a little software research we're going to do there. Week 4, more with spreadsheets, and then we're going to play around with Google Forms for doing surveys. Week 5, we finish up the survey. You're going to do a how-to. All the time I get called from people, friends, because they know I play with computers. Hey, I can't figure out how to do this. First thing I do, I Google it if I don't know how to do it. And then I explain it to them. And so you're going to make a little page explaining how to do something on a computer that you know or that you learned recently. That's a really fun one. Midterm exam is week 5. We have 2 exams here, a midterm and a final. Week 6, we're going to jump into image editing, which is a blast. We're going to do more image editing in week 7. And then weeks 8, 9, and 10, we're going to play around with web design. And that's going to take us to the end of the course. So we're playing around with word processing, spreadsheets, surveys, online surveys, image editing, and web design and website usage. Those are the main topics in this course. So back to week 1 here. So to participate in this course, you have to have a Google account. If you don't already have a Google account, then you'll need to get one. If you're not sure if you have a Google account, you can always just make a new one. They're free. Or give me a call and I can help you figure that out. A lot of high schools, if you're a recent high school grad, use Google. And so maybe your high school lets you use your address indefinitely. If that is the case, they might sometimes stop letting you use it. So it'd be a good idea to get your own real Google account. And that's done pretty easily. If you just go to Google. Oh, what happened there? There you are. The recommended web browser for this is Chrome. Sometimes Internet Explorer won't work so well with some of our tools, but usually it's okay. Edge tends to work fine. Firefox tends to work fine. Safari usually works fine. Wouldn't worry about it too much. This one thinks I'm logged in. Let's try that a different way. I'll switch here. Oh, I know I should have gone into guest. That'll do it. Okay. Google.com. And if you try to sign in and you don't have a Google account, then, interesting, the next thing's up on me. More options. Create an account. There we go. So like I said, Google changes things all the time. It used to just say create an account right here. Now you have to give more options, create an account. And then Google has you fill out a little form. You have to, let's see, where is it? You have to give them some current email address to verify you are who you say you are. Just kind of sketchy anyway, but that's what they require. Phone number, I think, is optional, but you got to have a name and pick yourself an address. So if you don't have a good Google account or you had a high school account and you want to get a new one, then just grab a new one through Google. I have a whole bunch of Google accounts, which is both good and bad. So again, take a look at the welcome message. Image search, I'll come back to later. Google Drive, folder and file sharing is something, if you're new to Google sharing, you might come back to that page, but that stuff is also contained down here in the tutorials. So anytime you click on something in a module, it has next and previous buttons to take you to the next thing in the module or the previous thing in the module, which is the same way they're oriented on the home page here. So when I click next from the learning outcomes, it's going to take me to plagiarism. If I click next from plagiarism, it's going to take me to getting started. If I hit previous from getting started, it'll take me to plagiarism. So those next and previous buttons allow me to flow through here. And I have the course set up so that you should start in the beginning of the module and work your way through. The outcomes will always tell you an overview of what's going on this week, the things I hope that you'll learn about, and then proceed to start doing them. Plagiarism, copyright, and fair use are a big deal. I'll come back to that later. In the second part of this week 1 video series, Google account you got to have. So again, if you don't have one, get one ASAP, because we're going to start using it right away. In particular, we're going to use your Google account to help you make an account at WordPress at BMCC. Now, WordPress is a company. There's a place called WordPress.com. You are not, I repeat, you are not going to go make an account at WordPress.com. I have WordPress running here at BMCC, and you're going to make an account at the BMCC version of WordPress. So I am going to steal this link right here and just demo how that's going to happen. Let's see, copy link address. Now, anytime you have an assignment, some kind of tutorial, right? This is a tutorial. It's a good idea to read through all of the directions before you start doing something. Don't just go here and try and figure it out without reading through what the heck you're supposed to do. So I try to give as complete instructions as possible, often with screenshots. But if at any point you're confused, give me a call, send me an email, and I'll help you out. You can email me in a couple of different ways. My address is listed on the syllabus. You can write to me from that address in your Google account, or you can go to the inbox and send me a message from there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to WordPress.com, and we're going to try and log in with Google. All right. And then once we allow Google to sign us into WordPress, it'll take us back to the login page, and then we are going to log out immediately, because here's the way it's going to happen. Instead of having to make up a username and password that you have to remember, which is such a pain in the butt, another username and password, right? Google will verify you are who you say you are, right? Which is the point of a username and password. So Google will be your username and password instead of typing that manually. WordPress will then have Google send you a message to your Google account saying, yeah, I really own this email address. And that'll take you back to WordPress to complete that. That's called an authentication process. We're authenticating that's your email address. You are who you say you are through that email address. If that email correspondence doesn't happen right, then your WordPress account will not work. And so I have a note down here that says if you don't receive that email from WordPress at BMCC to your Google account, then you'll need to contact me, and I will authenticate you manually. And then I'll send you instructions on how to continue from there to complete the rest of the tutorial. So I'll try it right now. So I click that link, and so that's going to take me, whoa, get back here, over to a new page here. So here's WordPress at BMCC. And the instructions said to scroll down to the bottom of the page and hit login. And we're never going to use an email and password here. It's always login with Google. Okay. Now, this is the first time I'm doing it, so it's going to say, hey, what Google account do you want to use? And it sees I'm already logged into Google as Peter Parker. It's one of my pseudonyms. And then it takes me back to the login screen. Okay. So what's going to happen in the meantime, so sometimes it'll consider you logged in. It'll say your user number, 152. If it says that you're logged in, then log out immediately. If you get this same screen back, nothing to worry about. Just close it for now. And then you're going to go to your Gmail. And what should happen is within a minute, an hour, you should get a message from WordPress at BMCC. If it doesn't show up within an hour, that's where this note kicks in. And you're going to write to me and say, hey, I didn't get an email. Can you help me out? So here, it was supposed to tell me what my username is. So I have some kind of internet glitch. Those happen. So you can just go to the syllabus, for example, and get my email address, copy, or right-click, copy email address. And then from your Google account, I close mine, you'll send an email to that address saying, hey, I tried to log in. Here's what WordPress said my username was. Maybe it's like user 345, or maybe it didn't respond with the user. And what you'll tell me is if there was a username or not from WordPress. Okay. So we'll do a new message here, Gmail. So for some of you, it's going to go really smooth. It'll work just fine. For others, it might not. So you're going to send a message to Gary Parker. This is, always give a good subject. CS120, WordPress, question mark. And maybe WordPress said you are user 308. And I'll have your Gmail address, but you could always give it to me just to be safe. Is there anything else I'm going to need from you? That should be it. And just a note as to what happened. So it's something like, I was given this username, but got no email. So that's one possibility. Or maybe you didn't get a username. So you just say, I didn't get a username. Please help. And if you don't already have a closing statement, give me your real name. Let me know who you are. Okay. If you just send me your BMCC address, that's not going to help because that's not a Gmail address. It has your first initial and your last name. Give me your first name. Give me your last name if it's not already in your signature. And what I really need to know is your Google email address. I already know your BMCC one. We need a Google one for this. And then send it out to me. And we'll be good. So back here, let's see, where was I? Home. All right. Getting started. Oops, wrong one. Go back. So you want to read through these instructions. So we got to get your WordPress account set up pretty quick. Usually assignments are due at the end of the week. I consider the weekends on Sunday for this class. So every Sunday you'll have a whole bunch of stuff due. Always a good idea to get it in before Sunday. Some tutorials have a submit button at the top. Others, it's the next page that has the submit button. So you're going to read through all this stuff, and then you're going to try and do it. And again, I'll come back with another recording about this. In this case, the submission button is here. Anytime you have an assignment to submit, I'll tell you what you're going to submit, and there'll always be a grading rubric to go with it. So the grading rubric is how I'm going to grade you on what you submitted. So always double check with your submission, did you do everything you're supposed to? So here it says that you are going to respond to these questions. Always read all of the instructions before you hit submit, okay? And start typing stuff. So here they give me some tips. Copy the list of questions into your submission first, then write your answers to each one. Tip, hit Shift Enter at the end of each line to get a new line without a number. Let's give it a try. I'm going to copy these questions. Control C to copy. I'm going to hit Submit, and in my submission box, I'm going to paste those suckers in. And the tip was if I'm at the end of a line and I hit Shift Enter, ooh, look at that, I get a new line with no number, and I can enter my address. If you just hit enter, it's going to give you a new number, which screws everything up. So we don't want that. So Shift Enter gives you a blank line. And again, if you haven't gotten your WordPress username yet, then don't enter that. So maybe I did. User number 304. Oops, I took that in the wrong spot. Ah. There we go. Now, let's suppose you run out of time to finish the assignment and then you just submit it partially done. Problem with Canvas is you can't edit submissions that you've made. You have to do a resubmission and then finish up. Notice I have a new blank screen to type in whatever I haven't done. And when I review your work, I'll see that more than one submission is made. And the way I work is I look at the newest submission. If everything's there, cool. If it's not, then I start looking at past submissions for this assignment. And then if there's a problem, I'll usually write to you and say, hey, something went wrong with your submission. Here's what I think you need to do. So, so I would need to do a second submission to answer questions 3 and 4 if I didn't finish it. Some assignments are quick and easy like this one. Others are going to take a bit more time, research, and effort. So I'm going to leave this. All right. So I'm going to check in with my other Google accounts. Let's see if I got that message yet. And sometimes it goes well, like I said, but this is probably going to be one of those times it didn't. You know, it's funny, right before I did the video, I tested this out and it worked flawlessly. Oops. Technology is like that. All right, so I still didn't get the message. So let's say an hour went by, so then I'm definitely going to send the message to Instructor Parker saying, hey, my WordPress account doesn't seem to be working yet. Can you help me out? And I will do my best to help you out as quick as possible. All right, so get busy looking at the course, check out the general information first, and then start going through the week 1 stuff. The calendar for the course shows when things are due, and once in a while I'll have things due earlier in the week. If it's striked out, it means you already submitted it or it's past due. Otherwise, things tend to be due on Sundays, but every once in a while I have a reason I need something due at a different time. So pay attention to that and just send me a note if you have any questions. So have fun with your computer stuff. Give me a call.